Hello, friends and brothers and sisters. Welcome to Pathways of Hope. My name is Avi, and today our gospel reflection is about two kinds of people who prayed, or I think two kinds of prayers. And I'd say my key takeaway from all of this is prayer is about recognizing God's place in our life. He is Lord and center. Secondly, prayer is about giving God access to change us. There's two kinds of people here who prayed. The one is this Pharisee. So when he prays, he boasts of what he has done. He says, "Thank God, I'm not like these other people, these tax collectors, these adulterers." And just he compares himself to other people, and he says, "Look at me, I fast every week. I pay my dues to my temple, my church." This prayer of the Pharisees just he just makes a boastful report about what he's done. It's also very centered on himself. It's all about himself. This is what I've done. Thank God for making me so much more holy and righteous than all these other people. I also do these bunch of things. Look at me. So this guy, he makes a report. He boasts before God what he has done. And in the process, it gives no God room to speak into his life. It misses the mark of what prayer is about. What could be the accumulated effect of this kind of prayer? Let's just focus on the self, just reporting what he has done. This guy could go home every day. He thinks so well about himself. There's no need for him to consider what can I improve in my life? What sin does God want me to deal with? Is there a more loving, merciful way He'd like me to pursue in how I relate with people? He thinks about none of this. There's no need for him to consider this because he already believes he's already doing so much better than everyone else. So imagine the feeling of this man, feeling the feeling of woe when he dies. He comes face to face with the Lord, who hides nothing, and God just reveals to him all the things he actually required of this man, but this man didn't do because he was so caught up with himself. At the end, he, for all of his life, he exalted himself, but at the end, he will be humbled. And by then, it will be too late. Now, let's take a look at this prayer of the tax collector. He stands afar off. He doesn't even see himself as equal to other people praying in the temple. He won't even meet God eye to eye. If this tax collector just said na, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sinful. Look at me. I'm worse than everyone else. I'm so pitiable. God, I despise that I'm not like other men, other women who have more opportunities to pray." If he stayed there, he would have fallen into the same self-centeredness the Pharisee had. It's just looking at himself. But he said, "God, be merciful to me, a sinner." He recognizes who God is and God's place in his life. He knows that God is holy, so he stands afar off. He recognizes that he's sinful, his job is not honorable, and he knows that God has the power to actually punish him. But what he does is he looks at his weakness and he offers it to God. He asks for mercy. And by doing so, this man gives God access to work in his life because his attention is focused on what God can do for him in mercy. What can happen to this man? He might really experience God's forgiveness because he's genuinely seeking it. If God tells him also in prayer, "Okay, you asked me to be merciful, and this is what I want you to do now," this guy is in the best place to hear God's voice because his heart and his attention is already genuinely turned towards God at this very moment? What can be the accumulated effect? You can have a man or a person who every day comes to prayer and being made aware of what God is calling him to do. Every day, he may ask the question, I'm weak, Lord, or I need to improve on this. How shall I deal with this weakness today? What are you, God, requiring from me today? And so every day he prays this, he can come out of his prayer time with some sense of how he can be more godly, how he can be more loving or charitable that day. God might reveal to him in one day through scripture, I forgive you, now forgive others or be merciful to others. And he goes through that. God might also tell him, preach the word in and out of season. Today, share my mercy to your coworkers. And this guy might say, okay, I'll do that to at least one coworker that day. The effect on that day after this prayer might seem so small, probably not even that noticeable. But most likely, years afterwards, and especially on his last day, this man will see that he's a different man than when he first began praying, God have mercy. Lead me how you'd like me to act or live today. He would probably have a more God job that's more pleasing to God. He would probably be a more forgiving man through whom people around him experienced forgiveness. And many people, not just his co-workers, would have probably heard of God's mercy because of his preaching. My friends, the Lord wants to change our lives. He's the physician who wants to heal the sick, right? And he has fellowship with sinners, but his purpose is not to keep us as sinners. He wants to heal and save us. Today, let's recognize God as the Lord of our lives, as the center of our lives, and let's give him access to transform us. If you were inspired by this, please like Pathways of Hope, share it with those whom you think need to hear this today. My name again is Avi. God bless and have a great day ahead.